We've got 23 people already. That's fantastic. Oh, good. Yellow, here fine. Okay. So welcome, Teresa. Let me go down the line here. Teresa and Barry, welcome back. And Carlos, of course, we're going to open his mic in a minute. We go down a little farther. And Allie, Margaret, Charmian, Jules, James, Jarko. Yay. Hey, Jarko. Stuart. Brian, good to see you. Alejandro, bienvenido. Ate, Elisa Coley of Parapsychology Foundation, Alice, and Ramzet, welcome back. Slavio, welcome back. Danielle, Bryce, Bob Paddock, welcome back. Lisa Burgess, Chris, welcome back. And Anastasia, welcome back. My gosh, so many people. Laura and Isolda, wait a second, I got to get back down there. It got away from me, my list. For those, is there anybody that can't hear? Let me write that. Is there anybody that can't hear me? Too hot. Oh, Rihanna is coming and going. Let me write her a note. Oh, Marlo. Hello, Marla. Hearing fine. Thanks, Jules. Carborough and everybody. We've got Argentina. We've got Finland. We've got the U.S. for sure. Who else? Who else do we have? Where is everybody from? UK. Oh, welcome, Stuart. Spain. Chris, you're in Spain. Lori's in Tucson. Rio de Janeiro. Wonderful. Good. Must be hot. Very hot down there, I would imagine. A year ago. A little bit later, but not too much. Hey, Brian. Do you have snow, Brian? Brazil, Florianopolis, hot and sunny. That's a beautiful spot. Lots of sea and good views, like Rio. So everyone is typing. So I'm going to draw attention over here with my tech, and let me turn on Carlos's so he can say hello. So I'm going to disappear for a second, and then Carlos will be back. Oh, poor.
Hope everyone can hear me and see me.
Oh, boy. Loud and clear.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy this MOOC. As you know, this is the second one that we organized with the Parapsychology Foundation. And I think this time we have a lot of fascinating presentations that you will like, both on the experimental side of the field and case studies, theory. We'll try to present a whole range of the field during the course. So I just wanted to say hello, and I'm glad to see familiar names and some new names. So I'll pass it back to Nancy now. Bye.
Lisette, you want to say hello, or Brian? Brian Williams is a member of our course team, and we're going to be looking at the whole big spread of who everybody is in just a second. And it's wonderful. So people are all over the world, and what time is it where everybody is? That I haven't been seeing. Oh, poor Rihanna just keeps coming and going. I don't know what's the problem. You want to be on camera, Brian, or no? 7 p.m. in the UK, 1 p.m. where Allison is. Allison, you're in the Midwest, right? Jarko, 9 p.m. That's Finland. James is 2. Oh, so you're here with all of us. Oh, okay. All right. Let me go down and you can say hello to Brian. So you see Brian's face. He's
Hi.
Say hello. Yeah, you sound great. So this is our intrepid partner for Discussion Forum. So welcome.
I wasn't expecting to be on, so I didn't put on my headset. So I didn't know if I sound okay.
Not to worry, you sound fine. There's no echo, so that's really good. Okay, and Lisette, can we convince you to say hello or no? It's okay if you say no. I'm going to turn my camera off just in case. I haven't turned your stuff on yet. Just hold on a second. Can I turn on your camera as well? Yes, but take a breath. Okay, here we go. It looks like we're okay for that now. Sometimes the combination of all of our computers slows down the classroom health, actually, and other times it just pops it up and makes it wonderful. It's trying to bring you in. So while we're trying to bring you in audioly, just as soon as your mic comes on, and then I'll turn your video on. this is our housekeeping notes, and I just wanted to mention this at the beginning as you've been letting me know. You've been saying hello in the chat and telling us where you were. Brian, you want to stay with me until Lizette comes on, or are you okay? Nancy is here. Yeah, hello. And poor Rihanna, still trying. All right, let's see what happened to Lizette, because I'm not hearing a voice, and Lizette, it just doesn't want to open your text, so you're off the hot seat. I'm really sorry. I'm just gonna shut Brian's tech off right now and then close that down, and then we'll get back to this so we can move on to the beginning. Bye, Brian. Thanks for being patient. So here's the big reveal. Okay. Welcome to Parapsychology Research and Education, and we started the live sessions today. We're mainly focusing on research, although as we go along, we'll be giving you some tips about how to keep up your interest in the field and your education in the field, because formal education is very difficult to get, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this MOOC. Last year, when we finished the live sessions on Valentine's Day, February 14th, there were about 15, 18 of us that just didn't want to stop talking. So we set up a monthly forum that met usually the last Sunday of the month. And that ran through from March until August. And then we shut it down in August just because I needed time, to get ready for this one. So we're building that into the course this time. So that will be there, and everything that you're going to see will be recorded, and you'll be able to come back and watch them again, and all of the PowerPoints and everything will be available. Some you won't be able to download. It's similar to last year. A couple of the speakers they're writing a book, and that's kind of the structure of the book, or they're doing something else and they don't want it downloaded, but you will be able to see it outside of the classroom as well, so you can peruse it and get information from it. So this is our group. From January 18th to the 26th, Carlos and I are going to be doing most of all of the lectures, as you'll see. And I come back in a little bit later in early February to talk about the certificate program. Those of you who were in the course last year know very well that I have not got all the certificates out. Natasha Chisnis, who's down here, was wonderful and managed to get out some other information for people, but I didn't get the certificates done. So I'm holding that lecture back until the first week of February, with the hopes that all of last year's certificates will be out. Last year, when we started ParaMOOC 2015, which was the very first time we did something like this, we started with about 160 people, I think, and by the time the live sessions were over, we had 800 people. Now, people have continued to register for that course, and I recommend you to do that as well, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to the end of this. Now we have 1,039 people lined up. Now that includes speakers and Carlos and I and my sample student, who's my Second Life avatar. I use her to make sure everything looks good for you guys. So from January 27th to February 2nd, we will start with our guest speakers, who we're just delighted to have every single one of them. I'm going to tell you, this is Dr. Antonia Mills from University of North British Columbia, and you'll see her title later. She's going to be speaking about reincarnation, an area that she's been doing research in for many, many decades, years. I have to stop saying decades. This is Dr. Bill Everest, who's from Tucson, Arizona, and teaches at Pima County College. And he's recently finished a PhD, which should be an inspiration to everybody. And we'll be talking about the spiritually transformative experiences that new mediums have. And this is Dr. David Luke, who's a senior lecturer at the University of Greenwich in England. He works in psychedelics and ESP. We're very excited to have Dr. Bernard Carr with us. He's a professor of astrophysics at Queen Mary College, which is part of the University of London system. He's also a past president of the Society for Psychical Research, I think several times. I think he's still, somebody can correct me, I think he's still part of the convention team for the annual Society for Psychical Research convention. He's a very interesting guy. He's been interested in parapsychology and astrophysics since he was young. And while he was at Cambridge and at graduate student at Cambridge. He was both a student of Dr. Stephen Hawking and for many years was a person who lived in his home and helped him, one of the graduate students that had that kind of a job. And he decided, like Carlos and I didn't decide, to kind of put off being super active in parapsychology and psychical research until he was a bit farther along in his astrophysics career. So he's very famous on that side of the line and one of the nicest people in our field and very famous among us as well. So you'll see his talk title in a minute. From February 6th to February 12th, we'll have Dr. Jeanette Nachman, who is from the local community here. She's an MD, PhD. She'll be doing a review of psychic healing, as you'll see. Erlander Haraldson is a professor emeritus from the University of Iceland, and he has many interests, and this time he'll be talking to us about apparitions. This is Dr. Stefan Schmidt from the University of Freiburg. I'm not quite sure what hospital he's working in now, but he's a clinical psychologist and also a researcher in the field from Germany. This is Dr. Janice Miner-Holden, who's from Texas. She's the editor of the Journal of Near-Death Studies and one of the editors on the volume Handbook of Near-Death Studies. I think it's 30 years of investigation, something like that. You'll see that title tomorrow in the presentation about the field as a whole. She's going to be talking to us about NDEs. This is Dr. Dick Bierman, who is an emeritus professor from both the University of Amsterdam and University of Utrecht. He worked mostly at Amsterdam. Very much involved, he's a physicist, but very much involved with psychology and very much involved with parapsychology. And he'll be talking about research methodology and what we can do to make it better. From February 15th to February 18th, we have Dr. Renaud Evrard, who's from France. He's a clinical psychologist who was in our November 2014 conference, and he'll be talking about clinical issues in parapsychology. This is Dr. Arnaud Delorme, who's living proof that sabbaticals in France are much better than sabbaticals here because he's on a 10-year sabbatical. With appointments at the Institute for Noetic Sciences in Petaluma, California, and also a nearby university. He's done a lot of psychophysiological work, neuropsychology type work with mediums. So that should be very interesting. This is Dr. Serena Rooney-Dougal, who has been working all of her life in her independent research laboratory, has been very productive and focuses on meditation and psi. And ESP. When I say psi, that's sort of the generic English word for all kinds of psychic phenomena, and it's spelled PSI. And then Dr. Patrizio Trosoldi, who's at the University of Padova in Italy, who's a relative newcomer to the field. I think he's been working seriously in parapsychology for about 10 years, and is a psychologist, does statistics and other kinds of things. And he'll be talking about quantum theory, actually. He's got a very theoretical talk planned. If the talk he gave us for the November 2014 conference is any indication, it's going to be wonderful. Well, I wanted to say, and I'll be saying this every time we have a session, the Parapsychology MOOC was brought to you by Carlos and I in our little project, the Zaire, it's called the Alvarado Zingrodi Institute for Research and Education, but it lives virtually. So it's Parapsychology Online, the YouTube channel, Parapsychology Online, our WordPress, Carlos's blog, Parapsychology News, Research and History, and as you'll hear later, a research center in the virtual world, Second Life. Well, last year we would have had a difficult time. We were committed to putting on the program, but we would have had a difficult time carrying it out because we were just doing it. It wasn't anything that we were getting paid for. At least that's how we started to think about it. But Lisa Coley, the president of the Parapsychology Foundation, for whom we have worked on and off for 20 years almost, and have had a relationship with as grantees and users of the absolutely amazing Eileen Garrett Library on occasion, presenters at conferences and so on. She brought us back into the Parapsychology Foundation fold as research fellows and gave us a paid position and very kindly allowed us to rack up unworked hours for the PF while we were doing the MOOC last year and is doing that again this year. So we wouldn't be able to do this with the amount of energy or attention that we are doing it if it wasn't for Lisette Coley. So thank you, Lisette, for helping the field for decades and decades, and for supporting particularly the ParaMOOC series. And now she's calling it the Marvelous MOOC, which I kind of like. I think that's really a wonderful way to call it. Yes, Thomas is asking me privately if 10 years sabbatical is correct. That's what our note told us. So we'll have to query him on that. So then I want to introduce you to the rest of, oh, thanks, Lisa. I want to, yes, the founder of the feast in every wonderful way possible. So the ParaMOOC team, you won't see all of us. You'll see me probably and Carlos, but you won't see all of the rest of us in every single session. But Natasha A.G. Chistis, who last year was one of our financial supporters and is a core associate for our little consulting company, as well as working on outreach in the Eileen J. Garrett Library for the Parapsychology Foundation. She will be in and out of the courses after the end of this month. She's on, they're having a second honeymoon, she and her husband. This is Dr. Kathy S. Dalton, who you may remember from last year. She gave a very good talk about her research and creativity in the Gonçalo. She'll be checking in and out to watch the sessions and be available to answer questions in the chat. This is Tom Hodgers. He's an absolutely marvelous professor from University of Venezuela in Valencia. He's actually an English as a second language guy mainly, although he also teaches Japanese culture, because he spent many years teaching English in Japan. He's just the biggest sage about how WizIQ works, and will be coming along as he can. Venezuela now is having a pretty large economic downturn, and their electricity isn't always on, so we don't know when we'll have him, but hopefully most of the time. And Gonçalo Veiga is the newest member of the Parapsychology family. He's a research associate for the PF, and he is out of town today, but he will be dipping in and out of all of these classes as well, and can answer questions about parapsychology. And our resident expert on everything parapsychological after Carlos, so he's the second seat after Carlos's encyclopedic knowledge, is Brian Williams from the Psychical Research Foundation, and we're really delighted to have him collaborating with us again this year because of his depth of knowledge, the kinds of questions he can ask, and how much he can help you guys with. So he's almost always in every session, and we're grateful for that. And then, of course, there's us as well. So let me take a look at what's going on over there. Oh, and please forgive me and not the Parapsychology Foundation if some of the suite of Parapsychology Foundation websites are not fully working, because we're in the process of rewriting everything and updating them and all that stuff, and hopefully we'll have them done before the course is over. So this is the slide you will see every time we start a course, and I won't go completely through all of these folks, but kind of talk over them as we go in. At the beginning of every one of our sessions, there will be a single PowerPoint with the person's picture. They'll probably still be in the screen while I'm reading it, and their more detailed biography. And then I'll get out of the way, and be in the chat box, and we'll open it up for the speaker. So that's how that works. So let me, I just wanted to say one more acknowledgement, which is this marvelous Wordle I happened to find on a stock photo and image website called 123rf.com. It was put together by an artist whose name on that system is Radiant Skies, and she has a whole bunch of Wordles that have to do with parapsychology. They're really marvelous. So I just wanted to give her a shout out and say that we actually bought this. We bought a license for this particular illustration so we can use it in all our courses, and also on some things that I'll tell you about in another session. So let me go forward from here. That's just a shout out to Radiant Skies. Now, I wanted to tell you about something very, very wonderful that is also happening during the MOOC. Now, you may wonder why your schedule has this big hole in it from the end of this week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. are all free days for the ParaMOOC 2016. Well, they're free days because on Saturday and Sunday, we will be, the Parapsychology Foundation will be hosting its first ever online international affiliate conference. And we've got a lot of wonderful speakers set up. I will be posting the link to sign up for that course in the course discussion a little bit later today. And you can also find it by searching for parapsychology, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later in this talk. So what we've done, for the foundation, Carlos organized the conference, and what Lizette Coley at the foundation has done since 2000 is build up a group of 27 international affiliates, the newest of whom is not on the website yet. Dean Radin has agreed to be the American affiliate because we never had an affiliate for the United States. And so 27 individuals from 26 countries. Now, the reason why we have 27 individuals is because Dr. Wellington Zangari and Dr. Fatima Regina Machado are both the PF affiliates for Brazil. So this year, we will have presentations on the work in their home countries and institutions, research, however they have decided to focus on this. I'll be posting the titles, abstracts, and bios to that website very soon. So we have for this year's conference, Dr. Alejandro Parra, who's here with us today. He's the PF International Affiliate for Argentina. Hideyuki Kokubo, who's the PF International Affiliate for Japan, and he will either be after Dr. Parra or before, because it's a 14-hour difference, so that's pretty interesting. On Sunday, we'll have Dr. Chris Rowe, who's the PF International Affiliate for England, Dr. Mario Varvoglis from France, and Wellington Zangari and Fatima Machado from Brazil. There'll be an opening session in which we'll give you kind of an idea of the foundation and its programs, especially as pertains to the international affiliates and to the past conferences. And there'll be a closing session to talk about not only how the two-day conference went, but what's coming up in this year for the foundation. Because this year, 2016, is the 65th anniversary of the founding of the Parapsychology Foundation. So that's a lot of years pushing forward the scientific study of psychic phenomena, of providing a clearinghouse for information, and supporting researchers and students and organizations and so on all around the world. Very unusual, always international focus, which is very much needed in the field. And so we're really grateful for that. And I encourage you strongly to sign up for this when all of the materials are available, which should be today or tomorrow, and take some time on Saturday to come to some of these talks, because these are extraordinary individuals, and they will be very good talks, I'm sure. So let's go on to the next thing. Now I'm just going to fly through this. We've made some changes in the schedule because we decided we wanted to split out how to do this course and what this course is about and how the webinar system works and what this other virtual world component might be from the introductory talk that Carlos and I usually give on the breadth of the field. You know, what are the kinds of methodologies being used, what types of phenomena do we look at, and all that kind of thing. I see we're up to 33, so I want to say welcome to those that I didn't personally welcome before. So that will be tomorrow. So that's why we move things around, so that we could take the substantive part of what we did last year, and move that over. Because I think we went to like 2 hours or 2.5 hours last year. So we split it out into 2 sessions. Then on Wednesday, the 20th of January, Carlos is going to give a talk about recent historical work. There's a lot of good historiography of parapsychology and psychical research that has been published over the last many years. There's a new scholar who's pushing some of that expansion, Dr. Andrea Sommer, who was a visiting library fellow at the Eileen J. Garrett Library in Greenport, New York, which is part of the Parapsychology Foundation. And there's just a lot of really interesting stuff that's being done in a variety of countries about the history of the scientific interest in this field, as well as other aspects. So he'll be talking about that. Now, every Thursday throughout the course, we're going to have the discussion forums. Last year we had them on Sunday, but we're trying to keep the weekends fairly open. And it will be the same as last year, where the WizIQ discussion will take place right here in this classroom frame at 2 p.m. Eastern, just like most of the courses. And then they'll be after it from 4 p.m. I think sometimes I've said 3:30 or 4, but somewhere in that vicinity, the Second Life discussion forum. And we'll talk about what Second Life is at the end of this presentation. And you'll notice that it's possible to do other things in Second Life besides sit on chairs and talk, because the first discussion forum in Second Life will be a meetup and a dance and a discussion. So there. Let's fly through this. I'll be talking about the geographical view of the field. In 2016, I'm in the process of gathering information from everybody I know that's doing parapsychology research at a serious level. If you have any suggestions of people I should be getting into contact with, or people you can help me with, Yanni, that would be great. Yanni knows everything about everybody in the field. And then we start with the substantive program with Dr. Mills on research on children who remember a previous life. The following day is a discussion. Then we have Bill Everest and a free day on the last day of the month. In February, you can see what we've got here: psychedelics and ESP, hyperdimensional approaches to psychic phenomena. This is fascinating. And then farther reaches of mind-body medicine by Dr. Jeanette Nachman. This is a talk that we've heard her give before, and it's really comprehensive and very, very good, and very positive about alternate forms of healing. Dr. Harleton is going to be talking about apparitions of the dead. That's one of his more recent books. Dr. Stephen Schmidt on distant intentions, which is also kind of a healing analog type of experiment. And this should also be very interesting. He's one of the best researchers in that area. Then Dr. Holden on near-death experiences. Dick Bierman on replicability of experimental paranormal phenomena. Dr. Everard on clinical issues. Now, his is a different time period, just because he wants to be able to have dinner with his family and put his children to bed. So he'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern on Monday the 15th. Dr. Delorme on the psychophysiology, it's supposed to say, of mediumship. The title may be slightly different when it comes in from him. Dr. Serena Rudy Dugal on meditation and psi. Patrizio Tresoldi, this is his total title, Mental, Behavioral, and Physiological Non-Local Correlations Within the Generalized Quantum Theory Framework, a review. So if you're like me, you're not going to make me understand everything he has to say, but he's very fascinating and a very good speaker, and I think that should be good. And then we get to the end of the course. We'll have our discussion forum that week on Friday so that we could accommodate Dr. Tresoldi's schedule. And on Saturday, we will be closing the live lecture portion of ParaMOOC 2016 and saying happy birthday to the Society of Psychical Research, which was founded on February 20th in 1882. So we tend to mark the first step towards professionalization on the scientific and academic side of the field from that date. So that's why we'll have birthday hats and we'll make noise. Okay, so anybody have any questions about all of that? And we can handle them before we move on to just some of the tips and tricks of how to use the WizIQ classroom frame and how to get help when you need it. I have to say that the WizIQ customer support team is just unbelievably good, very kind, very quick to respond. And that's pretty amazing because they have 4.5 million students using the system and 400 to 500,000 teachers. And that's not counting the universities and other people who use it. Oh, wonderful, Margaret. Okay, so I'm going to take the fact that only Margaret. Oh, wait, here's something. Yes. In fact, there will be a Google Calendar. We'll talk about that as we go along. There'll be a Google Calendar. There'll be a calendar on parapsychologyonline.wordpress.com, which is one of the Azire blogs. And I will also put it up there as a Word doc, so you can, you can print it out if you want. But yeah, we're definitely going to have a Google Calendar. I've started to work on it, and I'll put the link up as soon as it's finished, and you can sync it up with your other calendars. So it has been a change this year in the way WizIQ is doing business. In the old days, we were premium teachers, and we were on that wall that you see. Hey, Steve, welcome. We were on that wall that you see when you first load up your WizIQ account. If you're on www.wiziq.com and you've signed in, you haven't clicked on a course link yet, you haven't clicked on a class link yet, you're on that kind of social media wall that you see. And that's what we were all on all the time. Some of you are probably in that version of the class, but which looks like what you would have seen last year. It's a little perceptually confusing, to be honest, and it's kind of hard for all of us to work with. So one of the things that they've done over this last year is roll out the Online Academy program, and they redesigned the interface, and they've redesigned how it works. So some of you are, when you click on the course link, it takes you to the Online Academy version, the Azire Online Academy version of the courses. Now, your login for www.wiziq.com and the-azire.wiziq.com, that's the Online Academy, is exactly the same. And if you open up your WizIQ account and navigate to the Academy and come back, the WizIQ account will still be there. You have to click on login, but it doesn't make you put any information in. So this is that wall, and this is my avatar from Second Life with her old hair. She's my sample student so that I can see what you guys see. And the two most important spots on that wall is scheduled activities and courses. And scheduled activities will show you the very next two events that are coming up. On your own computer, you may not see the time in your time zone. But what you will see is how long it is until the course opens. So it'll say 9 hours and 30 minutes or 15 hours and 30 minutes or 2 hours and whatever. So you'll see that on your line and that on your wall, and that will, or anywhere that you see a course that you're going to eventually click on, you'll see what the countdown is to your time, provided you have entered a country or a city in a country. If you're in a country where the time zone is all the same, all you need to do is enter a country in your profile. And if it's a country with a lot of time zones, then you need to put a city that will represent your city so that they can pull your time zone. So this is really important because these are your scheduled activities, and you'll see these two at the top of the course frame, and at the top of your WizIQ wall, so that you can easily log in, click on that link, and get into that place where you can test your audio and video and see how things are going to go. If you go down to this section on the wiziq.com wall, this is where your courses will be. Now, in both cases, you can click a view all and see what else is coming up. Normally, if you're in an academy, it won't show everything else that's coming up until it's just about there. I'm not sure why that is. I think they're still working out the coordination. But normally you can see what you've seen. You can also get what you see here and what else you're registered for. You can also go over here to Learner and click on courses or live classes, and that will give you a similar list as well as the list of the things that you've already seen. So that's a way to go back and rewatch something, see if the recording is available without having to go back to the classroom. When you start a discussion over here on the WizIQ page, this is going out to the world. It's outside of the classroom. So that very first homepage that you've got, remember when you're writing there, you're writing to everybody that's following you. They may only be your classmates, or they may be other people that you have in your learners network. The Academy looks a little bit different. The Academy has our logo up at the top. It's got the course logo as before, but this is a little bit easier to read. It breaks out in a little bit more comprehensible way, so that's a positive. And you've got over here on the side the same kinds of sections: overview, activity, schedule, learners, and settings. In the Academy, what opens up first is the schedule page. In the old-timey WizIQ, what opens up first is the course discussion page. So that's just a little bit of a difference. And over here, the course discussion is called activity. Now, I did a video tutorial that explains what the differences are between the Academy and the WizIQ. You can go to the Academy URL and register there, even if the system hasn't automatically sent you there. And there are benefits and advantages and disadvantages to both. So I discussed that in the video, and I suggest watching that video. I think it's about 12 minutes long, so it's not too much of a chunk of change in terms of time. So, and this just shows you it on the schedule. They're listed as sections, and then you can break them out either individually, or you can break them out a little bit more widely. Like, for instance, here, if you just click on the section arrows, all you get is what's up in that section. And eventually, if there's, like now, if you go to this, you'll see the PowerPoints and all that stuff. And materials will go there as well. But if you click on the section 3, when you're doing this one by one, then it closes automatically section 2 and you see section 3. But there's this neat little thing up here called All Items. And you can click on all items, and what it will do then is it will open the entire schedule for you all the way down, and you could scroll down the same way you would scroll down in the old-timey WizIQ course schedule. So that's one of the differences. The other thing you can do is show all in the Academy is there's different types of things. So it'll show you the live classes. Once they turn into being a recording, it'll show you how many those are. When we get assignments up there, it will show you where the assignments are. If we put up a quiz, it will show you where the quizzes are. And if there's a tutorial, it will show you where the tutorials are. And the good thing about that is you can have a smaller chunk of the classroom information to look through if you're looking for something specific. Because people were having a lot of trouble trying to scroll down this long list of all kinds of different things in the old system. And if you're stuck with the old system at the moment, that you're still doing that. And at least in this one, you can ask for a type of thing and it'll just show you all that stuff. And then that makes life a little bit easier. Yeah, I like the Academy too. I think it's much cleaner and visually better. Now, this is a weirdness, and a number of you guys have written me and said, I've signed up, but I'm not on the list. What the heck? And the thing is that at the moment, for reasons I don't know, and I'm trying to find an answer to, is that the learner section only shows the last 100 active students. It doesn't go higher than that as far as I can tell. Whereas on the old course, you see everybody. Unfortunately, you see them in a difficult scroll down from, yes, the person who was active 5 minutes ago to the person who signed up a month and a half ago or whatever it was and hasn't done much since then. So it's hard to find people, and they're working on a search bar for learners, but they haven't done that as yet. But this is what it looks like here. But even if you're not listed among the 100 most active, students out of the whole course, you're in there. The fact that you can see this means you're in the class, so not to worry, because I've had a couple people ask me about that. And again, there's more information about this in the video tutorial. So now there are two other ways to find other parapsychology courses on WizIQ, and I recommend them. One thing to do is, if you are in the Academy, you can click on either Discover or Courses, and it will take you and show you everything that it has attributed to me, attributed to the Azire, which is last year's ParaMOOC. That's this, and I recommend that you sign up for that. And than this year's ParaMOOC. If you would like to find other kinds of places where there's parapsychology things that haven't been put into my Academy, the Parapsychology Foundation's offerings, then you want to do a different type of searching. At the bottom of that WizIQ homepage, when you scroll all the way down, there's a little thing here that says search for a course or an instructor, and you click on search for a course. You type in, this is what comes up, you type in the word parapsychology, and then you get everything that's listed. Now, I took this picture right before the international conference. The Parapsychology Foundation International Conference was approved. And so now if you do this, you'll see that right down here. So you have not only the MOOCs, but you've got the Parapsychology Foundation Forum that took place in May of 2015, in which Chris Rowe and Dr. Elizabeth Roxborough from University of Northampton and 3 of their graduate students gave talks about their research. You'll find the Book Expo, which was really exciting. We had 6 people speaking in November and December. Dr. Ed May talked about his new 2-volume book that's an anthology on theoretical issues and research covering the whole field. The book, a new handbook for parapsychology, edited by Edsel Cardanian and John Palmer, and one of Edsel's graduate students. He came and talked about that book. We had also Ed Kelly from University of Virginia talking about Beyond Physicalism, which is also an edited anthology and kind of moves beyond their magnum opus, Irreducible Mind, that was published in 2007. That's a very interesting talk. And then we had 3 really good popular books, 2 that were published recently and 1 that came out in a new paperback version. One was Jim Tucker's book on children's memories of previous lives. One was David Jaher's Witch of Lime Street, which was about Harry Houdini, Arthur Conan Doyle, and the medium Marjorie from the 1920s, this kind of confluence of science and entertainment and psychical research and parapsychology. That is, I'm about halfway through it, and it's absolutely wonderful. And then Aileen Simmons' book on Aldous Huxley called Aldous Huxley's Hands. He did a study of hands. His quest for perception and the origin and return of psychedelic science, and that's absolutely fascinating as well. So all of those editors or authors came for the Parapsychology Foundation's event and talked about their book, and there's lots of information about how to buy the books and so on. And obviously, if you're a very serious student of the field, Ed Kelly, Ed Mays, and Edsel Cardania's edited volumes are very important going forward. So by putting parapsychology into this search engine, you get more stuff, basically, is what I'm saying. And all of these things are free, and you can register for all of them just by clicking on the little icon. So now we're going to talk about this thing that usually gives people a lot of gas. And for those of you that aren't native speakers of English, I can imagine that you can imagine what that expression means. Virtual worlds are a bone of contention for a lot of adults. My generation down through 2 generations weren't brought up with virtual worlds. Now the kids get little virtual worlds with every game and every toy and all that stuff, so it's not a weird thing for them. But for some of us, it's a little strange. And then even gamers who are used to doing World of Warcraft or some of these other shoot 'em up games don't quite know what to do with Second Life. It's a serious game, and there are many serious games out there. Kitely is one. It's another virtual world. There's a whole bunch of them. There's lots of open sim worlds. Lots of universities have their own little virtual worlds that they use for teaching purposes. But we got involved in Second Life sort of reluctantly about, it'll be this coming September, 7 years ago. You should. Well, there you go. We joined in 2009 because I was looking for education in online teaching, and the International Society for Technology and Education only did free stuff inside of Second Life. So they'd have all these amazing speakers come and talk about teaching online and so on, and so I was sort of forced into doing it. But it's actually a wonderful kind of experience because you can do things there that you can't do elsewhere. And by that, I mean, remember, this is a serious game. You can go to lectures, you can take courses, you can walk through the Cologne Cathedral somebody's built a replica of, you can take a train through Jalisco. You know, there's all these marvelous experiences that you can have. And then because this particular virtual world, like open sim worlds and so on, everything is built by the residents. So as you go through, you're finding people's homes, and you're finding businesses, and you're finding libraries. And I got inspired by the libraries. And Carlos and I set up the Azire Library. So we set up this Alvarado Zingrodi Institute for Research and Education as a project, and we paid 50 cents a week for a little space, and we started to fill it with click-throughs to books and so on. So this is where one of the discussion forums takes place. And part of the reason why I do this is because there's quite a lot of material available in the library. There are click-throughs to websites of scientists in the field, to the Parapsychology Foundation and all of us who work for it, to books that you might want to buy, things that you can download, things that you can read, and that kind of thing. But especially because when you're there with other people, there's such a feeling of co-presence that even if you're living in Moscow and Riga and Chandigarh and Sydney and, you know, South Africa and South America, wherever, you're all together in the same room. So there's a sense of co-presence that makes everything very real. And it kind of pushes relationships and friendships and the dissemination of knowledge in a really positive way. So that's why there's an element of that in this course. So this is 100% optional. There's absolutely no shame in saying, this is not for me. Perfectly fine. And I will be putting up tutorials into the tutorial section of the course that tells you how to get an account. It's a free account. Tells you how to find clothing and choose an avatar, and you can be a dragon or a pigeon or a person, whatever you want to be. And we'll give you information about how to get to this neighborhood. Now, this is the Greater Chilbo neighborhood on the mainland of Second Life, because it's, you know, mainlands and islands and continents and so on. And this building right here is the Azire Learning Center and Library. And you'll see a tour of that, and I'll show you what's on the first floor. The second floor is our discussion area, and then the library proper on the third floor. So 100% optional, and there'll be quite a lot of tutorials in there between today and tomorrow. If you're already a resident of Second Life, this is what's known as a Second Life URL or a SLURL, and this is the address to this building. What you do is you click on this, it takes you to the Second Life homepage, and a map comes up. You click on that. If you don't have an account, it will inspire you to make an account, and then it will take you through to this building, and then you can just walk your avatar around. Yeah, Barry is saying he got lost last year. I am also going to be doing sort of impromptu skills tutorials as people come in. We have a nice, on the other side of these buildings, we have a nice big area with a Puerto Rican cafe and a dance floor. So we'll try to get people up to speed with walking and flying and dancing and doing all that kind of stuff, so that life is easier when you sit down and have your discussion. And it uses voice or chat, so either way is fine. I can put a PowerPoint in and, you know, that kind of thing. And Margaret and Ariane and Yanni and a number of people who are in the course this year, Marla, were very active members of the Second Life discussion group. This here is Integrating Technology Building, and this is something that we use every year in April. I collaborate with my teaching network, and we put together a course for teachers on how to use virtual worlds. And then this is a place to get freebies, and just out of the frame is a wonderful little freebie store that has lots of free clothes and airplanes and balloons and things that you can use to play around. So it's just one aspect. So on the discussion forum days, there'll be the WizIQ discussion forum first for an hour, and then a half an hour or an hour after it's ending, there'll be the same discussion forum, but among those that are in the Second Life component of the course. And some people, you know, do both because they enjoy to have a day where that's what they're doing, is meeting with colleagues in the class and having conversations and experiences with them together. So I think, Gravis, I didn't say hello to you. We're doing doing great with a lot of people. So now what I'm going to do, because one of the things that we do in the WizIQ discussion forum is we tend to have questions arrayed on a PowerPoint, and I give people the tools to write. So I'm going to go down the list, and I'm going to give everybody a pen. Now I'm going to ask you to be very, let me go up to the top. I'm going to ask you to be very sweet-tempered and not move around the slide, but you will see to the left of the classroom frame, let me see if I can get down here, the left of the classroom frame, you will see some tools there. And at the very top, there's a pointer, and then there's a pen. That's a freestyle pen. Then there's a little box that has a big letter in it. That's a text box. And then as you go down, you'll see there's shapes and an eraser and smiley faces. If you click on the smiley face, you get a whole palette of various shapes and things that you can pop up on the whiteboard. So I'm giving everybody your pen, and if you know how to do something, there you go. And what we usually do with this in the discussion forums, and sometimes in the regular sessions as well, is just maybe ask a question and get everybody to weigh in on what they feel, what they're interested in, or make some comment. I find it wonderful that now they're talking about coloring books for adults, because why not? What the heck? You know, everybody needs to relax. So I think everybody's got a pen. So let me show you what the text one looks like. Let's see if I can get up here. So you can, the text box brings you up a box, and you can type in the box. You can change, I think you can change the color of the font, and then it's got all kinds of other things down the line. There's oh, I like the ghost. That's really good. There's another palette of icons, emoticons, that's down by where you type in the chat. That's all the way to the right in the chat, and that just gives you a small section, including this nasty face, of things that you can put into the chat. You can also change your font size and your font color by clicking on the numbers down there in the chat box, and then changing the color on that little square palette so that when you write, it comes out in text. And some of you have already noticed that you can click on all, or you can click on any individual in the class and have a private or a public discussion. And I've had a couple of them. Oh, no, yeah, Scott was mentioning that they were all grayed out. I have to open them up, and then I have to close them as well. You can imagine that I've been in some classes with 30 or 40 people or more. I was in one class that had 150 folks at once, and opening up the tools was quite a bit of something. And how old are we? Well, we're adults with, you know, with a childlike attitude to the world. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Welcome, Bill. Bill Everest just joined us. So this is one of the skills that you clearly have taken to like fish to water. So I'm not worried about you in this regard. Try not to erase other people's beautiful artistic contributions if you can possibly avoid it. Okay, so now I'm gonna, let me give Bill his tool. And now as you've got your pen, Bill, that means you can write or draw on this whiteboard. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm sorry, Teresa, you're at the top of the list. I'm gonna start shutting off the pen so we can move to the next class. But just to let you know that there will be a bit of an interactive component to, especially the discussion forums. So if you have joined ever the ParaMOOC closed group on Facebook, which is just for members of this class and people that are interested in the serious side of the field, that we have a number of admins, so it takes about, it hardly takes any time at all to get approved, to get in there. You'll see that the banner on the ParaMOOC page on Facebook is the very last whiteboard that we had in the live class last year. And it was really wonderful. And what's even better about that picture is that it was taken by Wellington Zagari over his wife, Fatima Machado's shoulder. And it was actually, there she was on the webinar that was being broadcast from North Carolina watching people from all over the world do what you're doing now, basically. Somebody put up a useful tip. Yep, you can use Control-Z to delete. There's also, you should also be able to, if you write something, those little arrows that are kind of curved come up and you can undo or redo. So I'm going down the list. I'm sorry, I have a couple of people writing me privately that I'm ignoring right now because I'm turning off everybody's tools, and I apologize. Rihanna, I'm so glad your system finally calmed down and you got to be in. And remember, everything that we're doing is being recorded. So if you miss something or you come late, you can always go back and see the recording. And normally it's within a few hours. If there's a problem and you go back, say, the next day and you don't see the recording as ready, then just drop me a line and I'll get in touch with them and see what the problem is. Okay, so let's soak this in for a second and we'll move on to the next slide. We're almost done here. So these are the recommendations that we want to make to you for before tomorrow's class. First, explore your WizIQ homepage. Just kind of look at everything, click on everything. You can't break it. And remember that if you follow your colleagues, the folks that are in your courses, you can they're going to show up. They're going to see. It's just like Facebook or Tumblr or anything else. If you follow somebody, they'll be able to see what you write on your wall. If they follow you, they'll be able to see what you write. So it puts you both together. I'm sorry about that, Bill. Try logging off and logging back on. Oh, that's silly. He can't hear me. Brian, can you drop him a line and tell him how to solve his problem, or Carlos, because Bill Evers can't hear. Go to the course page on the Azire Academy as well at theazire, THE-AZIRE.WIZIQ.com, and use your WizIQ login if you're one of those that hasn't been put into the Academy. And just because you may find it more congenial perceptually to work over there. Once you've done that, then every time you click on a course button on the WizIQ homepage, you'll get taken to the Academy. Click the Settings tab on the WizIQ homepage. There's two places where you're going to find this. One is inside the classroom. The other one is on the drop-down menu that appears between your name and your email, your instant messaging on WizIQ. When you click there, it'll take you onto a settings page, and you have options to turn off the notifications. So if you don't like getting lots and lots of notifications, because there's lots of us in the course and people are talking and it'll get more and more hectic as time goes on, shut that off. Now, in the online academy, you'll find settings as one of the tabs on the left-hand side, and that gives you the ability to shut off notifications inside that classroom. You don't have control over other types of notifications from inside the academy, but you do on the WizIQ. So check those settings and see what you need to do. If you get confused, drop me an email or an instant message, and I can give you more direct. And there's also, that's also covered in that tutorial that's in there. Find other places for more information by searching Parapsychology Foundation and Parapsychology Online on YouTube.com. These are two different channels. We've got some of the lectures from last year's ParaMOOC up on Parapsychology Online. I have a series of introductions to various websites and other sources of information for students. On the Parapsychology Foundation side, we've got the Book Expo playlist is starting to build out. The May 2015 conference with the folks from the UK will be starting to build out. We're also in the process, Anna and I and everybody at the PF, in beginning to upload a lot of the Parapsychology Foundation's amazing amount of content, perspectives lectures, many conference files, short interviews with people. We're just getting this going. So definitely, if you're used to getting onto YouTube, go to www.youtube.com. I recommend making your own account and having your own channel, even if you never intend to put anything up on it, because then you can subscribe to other channels and you'll get notifications when people upload material. And there's going to be a lot of uploading over this year on both of these channels. We also, the Parapsychology Foundation and Parapsychology Online on YouTube, have a list of recommended YouTube channels which take you to more scientific stuff and things that are just interesting to us. So a good way to find some of the better YouTube channels where parapsychology, scientific and academic parapsychology is concerned, is in those recommendation lists on the Parapsychology Foundation YouTube channel and on the Parapsychology Online. An absolutely amazing place to go and get. I did a typo. Oh, I'm sorry. What did I do? Oh, gosh. Oh, Carlos, I'm sorry. I misspelled your name. Sorry. I'll fix this. Follow his link. It's CarlossAlvarado.wordpress.com. It's Parapsychology News, Research, and History, and it's an extremely, I'm sorry, it's an extremely good blog with lots and lots of information about people and books and conferences and courses and just interesting things. Yeah, I agree so much, Lizette. It's just super valuable. He's done quite a lot going back a couple of years, and that's a great source of information. And then talk to each other, because you all are already out there interested in the field and have your own experiences and have things that you come across that you really love, things that you want to show other people. Feel free to put all kinds of recommendations into the course feed or the activity feed in the course, because that's how we all can learn. And when we're doing a lecture, if you have a link that you believe is going to be useful to everybody else, pop it into the chat box, because we will try all of the time, we will try to save the chat, and I will show you how to save that for yourself as well. If you look at the chat box, you'll see that off to the right, there are 3 little lines, and one of the options, it might be the only option that comes up over there, is copy chat. When you've gotten to the end of the class, if you want to not have to trust me, because I forget to do the copy chat. When Tom Hodges is here, it always happens, but sometimes I forget. But you can also copy the chat for yourself. You can click on copy chat. It will put the chat box and everything in it in your Word doc, or open whatever word processor you've got. And what it does is it sticks the chat into that kind of repository, the clipboard of things that you can then paste into a Word doc. So that's one way you can get the chat for yourself. And this PowerPoint is in the course schedule. If you click on the PowerPoint, you don't have to go back into this course to grab it. If you click on the actual PowerPoint, which is called Opening Session PowerPoint, ParaMOOC 2016, you can look at it inside of WizIQ, and you can download it to your computer. And once you download it to your computer, all of the links will be live. This, of course, is not quite right, but anyhow. Okay, so yeah, the 3 lines up here. So I think that's absolutely everything. Does anybody have any questions? And remember, even if I'm telling you all this stuff today, it's not going to all stick in your mind. And so do not ever be afraid to email me or Carlos, or put a question in the chat or a question in the course feed. We're always going to be more than happy to help you find what you need. We're going to be accessible, and you can just ask anytime. And as we go along, we'll be putting up copies of the chat, which will have live stuff, and I'll fix the link in that copy. And then there's a bunch of other things that we'll be putting up that you'll be able to use. So let me copy the chat right now. So is there any other questions that's coming to mind right now? Does anybody who was in last year's MOOC want to say what a good idea it is to join up to last year's MOOC too and just go and see the videos? We certainly loved the experience, I must say. You're welcome, everybody. Well, we've got lots of thank yous and all that stuff. And Carlos and I are delighted that you've joined up. And remember, there's no date that's too late to get into the course. It's always open for anybody that wants to come in. So feel free to share the link to the class. You can get it off the course feed page. or just give them the information. And we're just delighted that you could come. One of the things that we heard last year from many of the registrants was that they had never known that there were so many people around the world that were scientists and academics and historians and all kinds of folks doing work in this area. And that's kind of what the purpose is. We're trying to make people aware there's really a lot of wonderful stuff going on, and it doesn't usually get into the media because it's not as exciting as the Hollywood version of all of this stuff. So we're glad you could join us for that, and we hope that you enjoy it as we go along. So I'm seeing some really wonderful notes here. Oh, no, yes, yeah, Danielle, if you want to go back and finish up, you can get the certificate. Just let me know when you're ready, and I'll get back in there. In fact, I'm still struggling with getting all the certificates out from last year. Yeah, lots of material. So, well, Carlos, you want to come back on and say adieu, or shall we just close it up? We're at an hour and 14. Normally, these things will go over quite a little bit, so that's why I always schedule them for 90 minutes, so that if we... Okay, Thomas. Yeah, we just saw Star Wars, so I'll say hooray for Hollywood for sure. You will see, I will be doing, Nancy, I'll be doing a talk in the early part of February on what to do to get the certificates. But in general, we'll have some reflections up there. It won't be as complex as last year because that's part of the problem that I'm having trying to get everything out. We'll have some reflections and some other ways that you can get a certificate, and the certificates will be issued by the Parapsychology Foundation. So that's really wonderful. They'll be sent out to people as PDFs, as you know, that you can pull up in Adobe Acrobat and print out and frame if you'd like. Because I know some folks are, Ramses, some folks are building up a research center and want to have material that shows that they've been doing these courses. So, and so anyway, you'll hear about that in February because we want to get last year's all out the door. And I'm glad you're excited about the list of presenters. We tried very hard to follow the suggestions of the folks at the end of the last course about what things were missing from that course that they would like to hear about. And we were very happy that quite a lot of the people that we asked said yes immediately. So that was fantastic. Yeah, and it's good that we have a live portion. And that's also what the Second Life thing offers as well, is that we're literally sitting in a virtual room, staring at each other and going shopping and other kinds of things. So, all right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye, and Carlos, I think, is doing that. And yeah, the power of community. We want to, yeah, even for you, introverts and extroverts can get along well in a virtual world. That's my motto, whether it's in a webinar like this or somewhere else. So thank you for coming, and we will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. for the introduction to the scientific study of psychic phenomena, which is, as you can tell, reminiscent of the Parapsychology Foundation's tagline, their goal and operation, because we've been involved with them forever and ever and have much gratitude for grants and scholarships. So have a good evening, and watch the course room today and in the morning, because I'll be adding to it for the rest of the day. So bye now. I'm about to turn off the class, and I have just copied the chat, which is a miracle. Tom Hodges would be so proud of me. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.